Hello, how's everybody doing? I'm just finishing. Well, I didn't not finishing up my day, but I did something. I did an update earlier. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at it, but it's very important. But this is the table I'm doing today. I got to get my glasses. Uh, 1 second. I just got to get my glasses. Um, so I did an update. I kind of would tell you about what it's about, just in case you didn't get a chance to see it. But it's majorly about It's the update about the Access program. I think I want to call it the Ex-Jehovah Witness experience, like the website is going to be. Um, like I said, I did a lot of improvements. One of the things I did was I'm more conscious of the grammar. I'm making sure it's either a understandable clause or understandable sentence, and I'm putting numbers to divide the different points. Before I was just writing it down and putting comma marks on each thought that I had in each cell, but I wanted to make sure that when this is finished, I can put it right to the website so that people can view it and and read it and add to it or whatever, or give me comments on it. And I noticed that because I want to go through every day, I was like going like, wait, I have to make sure that when I do each table, that it's legible. You know what I mean? I still benefit from it because I've done it, but I want it to be used in the future, and I want to make sure that people can understand what's going on. First they have to figure out, like the app, the compare, contrast, and things like that. But now, so I'm brushing everything up, and I decided to do, start from the beginning. This is me, myself. I'm going to start from the beginning and start editing and making sure that it's legible and readable for everybody when it gets on the website. So I'm starting at the top with one by myself and redoing, make sure the errors are out. And then I'm doing one like I normally do and put it on YouTube when I advance one table, each time I advance a table. So the major things that I did was to tell you that I was brushing up on, like the appearance of the tables. Another thing that I'm doing is a lot of them are compare and contrast, but what I've learned so far from doing this, that there's certain items that's in it that's very important, but doesn't have anything to do with compare and contrast. I noticed, for instance, there's one which I did two of them, which was paranoia, okay? And like I was saying earlier, these things that happen in the way they fix the way, however they did this Jehovah Witness organization system, but they made it so that you can't really understand what's happening to you or understand what to fix when you get out in the real world. Okay, so what I did is I kind of exposed what has happened to us or happens to Jehovah's Witnesses, but they can't say Jehovah's Witnesses because they're in it, and that's what they're agreeing upon now. So what happened to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are those who've been in the congregation, who've been in the system for a while. And when I came up with the paranoia, I stated that because it's a highly professional term, and when you deal with things to deal with the mind, psychology and things like that, there's specific terms, but I can't do the terms because I'm not in there. So I'm just kind of using terms that we're familiar with in conversation. I may not use it the right way, but I'm using it in a way that the general public can understand. Like, for instance, I'm saying the paranoia table. I don't know if a psychologist or someone who's in psychology would term it. But if they did term it, it would probably be I'll probably we probably have a hard time understanding they're talking about it. So I'm making it so that we can understand it because we're ex-Jehovah Witness and we'll understand. So when I say paranoia table, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, so I have like two of those so far, and the funny thing about it is that happened to us, but it has nothing to do with the religion or anything. The paranoia table, and there's two of those, and then I now, which I'm working on today, is over excessive table. Okay, and that's something else that they brought that they how can I say, can I say programmed in, or it's one of another thing that we were affected by, I guess I can say, the over excessive, which I'm going to get into. And we talked about superstition. There's another one, superstition, when you say when that's another table. So there's a superstition table, there's a over excessive table, and there's a paranoia table. Okay, and so now you can see what happens to you when you actually leave their congregation, because you're not with people who are subject to them and who just live their lives with them, because those tables that I just mentioned keeps you apart from the rest of the world. And we already know what I say the world is. When I say the world, I mean the world of Christians, general Christianity. I mean, there's religions that call themselves Christians, and then there's Christians from different religions. All those, basically, the world entails, as far as now what I can see, is anyone who believes in Jesus. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Even if you just have to believe that he exists. That's all. Okay? So here we go, and now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the table as I do usually. Okay, and the one that I did, like I said, I fixed one, and I'm going to go through on my own, fixing the ones that I've already done. And this one is going to be done as far as a regular. I'm doing that on my own, and then I'm doing this as usual. So the next table that we are on is don't lie about anything. This is an over excessive table. Okay, it's no compare contrast. It's over excessive table, and I have a Jehovah Witness view, and I have an ex-Jehovah Witness view and a world view. Okay, so let me fix this. Put group. Okay, so I fixed that. So the Jehovah Witness. This is Jehovah Witness. Now I'm doing I'm brushing up. I'm saying point one. Before I didn't do point one. Now I'm making sure that I'm doing each section so it's easier to understand and more legible when you read it. Okay, so I have point one. Most things in life have a balance, and this trait of Jehovah Witnesses is over excessive. Okay. Now there's a mistake. I mean, I don't know if it's a mistake or whatever, but I notice in the Jehovah Witness now, as I get deeper into it, is that I have to explain certain things, even though it's a Jehovah Witness viewpoint. It's a Jehovah Witness viewpoint, but I have to explain something about the topic that I'm writing on. So although it's in a Jehovah Witness viewpoint, I'm stating things that are not common, are factual about the Jehovah Witness that they would not notice. But I notice, since I'm an ex-Jehovah Witness. So I'm saying Most things in life have a balance, and this trait of Jehovah Witnesses is over excessive. Okay. Okay. Now, and that's a Jehovah Witness viewpoint, but I would have to say that it's my opinion, but it's still a Jehovah. It's inside the Jehovah Witness viewpoint, so I have to figure that out. So if someone is at home and doesn't, like for instance, as an example, this is number two. If someone is at home and doesn't want a caller to know they are there, the speaker on the phone cannot say that that person is not there. This is like when we used to have the telephone. It still applies nowadays, but the context is probably a little bit different nowadays. But usually, like when we had a landline, they call it, at home, and somebody doesn't want to speak to the person who's on the phone, they would just say, say I'm not here. Say I'm not here. Where in the Jehovah Witness, they wouldn't do that. They couldn't do that. I have noticed in some situations when I was at home and somebody didn't want to talk to somebody, they had to leave the house. Go on the stairway, go outside, and then we could say, that person's not here. It's over excessive, okay? Because the person is just really telling you that they don't want to speak to that person, you know what I mean? And this brings up a point. There was a movie when I was in college. I was in a Spanish class and had a Spanish movie. I don't know the name of it, but inside the movie, I will try and post it if I find it. But in the movie, there had this Jehovah Witness. It's from Spain. It was a movie about the characters are in Spain, and the guy was the boyfriend of the lady that he was visiting in an apartment complex, and evidently one of the ladies that worked there downstairs was like an assistant or a housekeeper or something. I don't know. But he told her, he goes, if Witchcom comes, just tell her you didn't see me, okay? Just tell her, don't say that you saw me. And then she made a big deal about it. Of course, it was like comedy. And she goes, I'm sorry, I'm Jehovah's Witness, and I can't do that. I can't lie. I can't tell her that, And that's over excessive in the fact that, he just wants, don't tell her I'm here. I mean, like in a normal situation, she doesn't even have to say that. She doesn't have to say that she's your witness. If she doesn't want to, do what he said, she just doesn't have to talk. If she wants to do what he said, just don't say anything to the lady at all, okay? Or else she could tell a lady, but it's over excessive to tell someone, oh no, I can't do it because, that'll be lying, okay? When the person is just expressing you that they don't want this person to know that I came by. But that was a comedy. It was just showing you how over excessive that they are. It happened to me also when I was, but it's funny because, okay, let me just get to that point. Yeah, like I said, on the telephone, that's over excessive, okay? Okay, if someone at home says to speak, okay, number three. See, now, I'm glad I'm doing this more organized, because now I can go right to number three. No matter how small, this rule cannot be broken. So they're saying no matter how small, the Jehovah's Witness is going to say they're not going to lie, okay? If I can think of another instance when it would happen at home, they have it with the callers, but maybe if I come up with something. So no matter how small, this rule cannot be broken. Then number four, if at work and a boss tells, okay, I don't know why I got 7 in here. So let me take this out. Just a little typo. Okay, if at work and a boss tells you to lie about anything, you are not to lie about anything. You will have to tell the boss point blank that I cannot lie. Okay, this is like, okay, now at work, if The boss says, if somebody comes, tell them that I didn't. Okay, say if the boss comes in and they're not working, okay, and they come in to get some paperwork, and they said, oh, if anybody comes or calls, just tell them you didn't see. I mean, don't say anything. Don't say that I came in or at all, which is really no big deal. I mean, he came in on his day off to pick up some paperwork. And he says, if I get a call or somebody stops by and asks for me, don't tell them that you saw me, okay? Which is really no big deal. But as a Jehovah's Witness, they would most likely say, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. You know, is this over excessive? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying when it isn't right, you know, sort of speak, sort of, kinda. But that's over excessive. It's just over excessive. Um, okay, so I did number 4. If at work somebody, you will have to tell them, okay, even if you just didn't want to follow that direction, I mean, you know, you could do a lot of, I mean, with a normal mind, like for instance, say if I didn't want to do it, okay, and I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, I would just evade the conversation. Like if somebody calls, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just not going to say, um, oh, have you seen what you call him? You know, I'll just not say anything, or else I'll change the subject or something like that. But the Jehovah's Witnesses don't have that power because they have to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. That's lying. Okay. So I hope you understand that point that I got. Okay, now, number 5, this over excessive attitude goes over into any forms of deception. So this over excessive attitude goes in any forms. Like for instance, I'm gonna tell you, I was at work one time when I was a Jehovah's Witness, and you're not supposed to smoke, but back in the 80s, you could smoke in the restaurants. It was not so like it is nowadays. It was very normal, and they used to have smoking machine. I mean, like vending machines with cigarettes. And one of my customers asked me, "Can you get me a pack of cigarettes?" And I went into that trance. You know what I mean? And I stopped. And that's to show you how. I mean, I'm not even myself. I wasn't even myself. I wasn't. It was something else. Now that I look, it's like another personality or something. Has nothing to do with yourself whatsoever. And I just stopped. I was like paralyzed. And then I could see though that the type of person I am kind of fought it, you know what I mean? Because I was doing things as far as the Jehovah's Witness, which I explained earlier, I don't want to go over. But the thing that saved me was that I was doing things, you know, secretly, you know what I mean? I wasn't smoking back then. But, you know, I don't want to get into the things. If you want to go through the first part of my life, then you have to go back and look at them. So I was doing things anyway against the congregation secretly. So I think that's the only thing that helped me get out of that situation. Because, so then I was like paralyzed, like I said. So I went over to the machine, and then it was like I was talking to nobody. It was so weird. And I was like this. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But there was nothing there. I mean, there was no figuring out. I couldn't figure out. So I went back to the customer, and it's funny, it's not even a conscience. It wasn't a conscience. The conscience is like wrong and right. This one was no conscience. It was just like there, like an over excessive trait, you know what I mean? Like psychological trait. It's psychological. It's pretty much, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to go, but anyway, I went back to the customer. I said, I can't do it. And he goes, why? I said, I can't buy you cigarettes. And this is way before cigarettes was like, it was normal for cigarettes. Nowadays, people would feel that way, but back then you don't think that way. So anyway, he wanted to talk to the manager to see if the manager could buy cigarettes. So she came in and she bought the cigarettes for him. And at the end of the day, this is why I'm saying that my secret life as a Jehovah's Witness kind of saved me, because the boss said, okay, now Pierre, what are you going to do next time somebody asks for cigarettes? And I said, I'm going to get them, you know. And you know, it was like a threshold. I'm sorry, I mean, back then cigarettes wasn't no big deal, but just saying that to her, I felt like a threshold, like it gave me something. And I didn't feel like I did anybody wrong. I didn't feel like I did somebody wrong. I just felt like I don't know, it's like I overcame something, you know what I mean? And it was over excessive. And then I had another job to where I was buying cigarettes, and I could see the over excessiveness like there, but you know, I had overcome it, but there was still a little bit there, which I could see. And it's just like that. Okay, so I was going to say another one, but I'm almost sure you understand what I'm talking about. So this over excessive attitude goes over into all forms of deception. Then I have, ironically, although their whole structure, okay, now this is ironically, although their whole structure that they live by is based off of lies and deceptions, they force themselves to live by these strict rules. So that's what makes it ironic. It's just that they're living on a whole system of lies and deception, and yet they can be so firm and over excessive about this lying for not for anything. And it's not really lying not for anything, because it's like for instance, the person, if somebody just doesn't want to talk to anybody, if somebody just, I mean, sometimes it's not like a lie, you know, it's just over excessive. So I guess some people will call it little white lies, but it's not even little white lies that they're talking about. It's just to show you that it's over excessive is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the ex-Jehovah Witness. So going over the Jehovah Witness thing, and my points about the Jehovah Witness, I can put them in. I just realized that, because it's a Jehovah Witness standpoint, and yet I'm still going to add points to deliver my message under the Jehovah Witness topic, so I can do that. At first I was thinking that it just has to be a Jehovah Witness point of view, but I can have a Jehovah Witness point of view because I lived through it. So ex-Jehovah Witness, okay, this ex-Jehovah Witness over excessive. These rules as an ex-Jehovah Witness is a lot of baggage, and they will find that they will spend much time. Oh, and this is point one. I gotta make sure, like I said. So now I gotta make sure that it's a point one. Let's go up. These things have to be numbered because when I put it up, okay, these rules as ex-Jehovah Witness is a lot of baggage, and they will find that they will spend much time in their lives trying to balance these excessive behavior traits that they have developed over their course of life as a Jehovah Witness. So that's just one point that I have there, and that's my experience as being an ex-Jehovah Witness. It's just so, and the thing about it is you don't have this, what I'm trying to say is, you don't have this table. So it's just scattered everywhere. But with this table that we have, the Jehovah Witness experience, that's what I want to call it, Jehovah Witness experience table, you can see the different problems that you have. You know, you can visualize them all, but without the table, they're just scattered everywhere, because that's the way they make the system, so that they isolate the Jehovah Witnesses from everybody else. The more weird tables they have, the more isolation, because they feel more comfortable with themselves. Okay, now worldview, and this is weird. They use their conscience to guide them on these matters. They use their conscience to guide them on these matters. Okay, and the funny thing about it is that as a Jehovah Witness, I didn't learn too much about my conscience. Okay, they have some things that we're talking about conscience, but to have a free conscience, meaning your own conscience, I never heard of it. So that's something that I've also learned from these tables, is the fact that your conscience is not really developed into where you have your own conscience, but as a worldview, and I told you what the worldview is. You have a conscience. A conscience is something very personal. If you have a relationship with God, it relates to your conscience, okay? So they pretty much use your conscience, but I don't remember as a Jehovah Witness having a developed conscience. Meaning, like when somebody asked me for the cigarettes, I didn't go to my conscience. I went through an over excessive thing, a point that I knew I couldn't do. I just can't do it, and that's it, you know. So that's something I want to that I've learned on this one. The fact that conscience is not really developed as a Jehovah Witness. Okay, I want to see. I'm gonna put that. I gotta make a note about that conscience thing, because it's something that I learned today. So anyway, so that's what we have for today, and that's gonna be it. I told you the updates. I refreshed you on that, and tomorrow, let me show you. Let me see what we're gonna go over for tomorrow. So remember, this is gonna be called not the overset. It's gonna be called the Ex-Jehovah Witness Experience Table. I hope that sounds good. If you don't like it, or you think I really should not make that as a table, I'm only taking suggestions that come through my email. It's a business email. It's a Gmail, and it's pierre68@gmail.com. If you have anything, put a subject, something that I know. Just if you put the subject, I read by the subject. Or if you're a certain person, people that I know already, are familiar with, as soon as I see their email, I'll open it. But for most people, you have to give me a good subject, what it's about, and then I'll open up the email, okay? I don't get that much emails now. But anyway, if you have any questions about the table at all, or some changes you want to make, just give me an email at pierre68@gmail.com. Okay, thank you very much. See you.